Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Dallas Cowboys, one shocking player who is listed as overrated. The Dallas Cowboys have been in the NFL news for a lot of reasons this offseason. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, quarterback Dak Prescott, and star defensive player Micah Parsons have yet to get contract extensions from Dallas this offseason. Lamb is expected to hold out at the start of training camp. There have been many trade rumors about him this offseason, with being in the final year of his contract at just 25 years old. Prescott may not be with the Dallas Cowboys next season if there is no new deal reached by the start of the 2024 regular season. Parsons will not be a free agent after this season, but he needs to be paid for the long term. Anthony DeBona of Pro Football Network thinks that Trevon Diggs of the Dallas Cowboys is one of the most overrated players in the NFL. DeBona said about Diggs, although he missed most of last season due to a torn ACL, Dallas Cowboys cornerback Trevon Diggs is the most overrated player on the team. Many will fixate on Diggs' interception total, but they often forget about the amount of receiving yards he allowed. While Diggs recorded 14 interceptions from 2021 to 2022, he also allowed 10 receiving touchdowns and over 1,800 yards. Diggs is still regarded as one of the top cornerbacks in the NFL, but he takes far too many risks on the field. When Trevon Diggs did play in a couple of games last season for the Dallas Cowboys, he recorded 4 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, and 3 pass deflections. Diggs was a second-round pick, 51st overall, in the 2020 NFL Draft out of Alabama. Trevon Diggs is only 25 years old. He will pick off a ton of passes this season for the Cowboys, but the defense will give up big plays because he can be out of position at times. 2 surprise Cowboys who could get extended before the Big Three. 2 surprise Cowboys who could get extended before the Big Three. We are a shade over 3 weeks away from the start of Dallas Cowboys training camp in Oxnard, California on July 25, and Cowboys Nation is giddy with anticipation. There isn't much to write about in the news cycle regarding the Cowboys or any other team, but the media always seems to find a way to conjure up segments that usually revolve around the Cowboys. And most of the time they aren't good headlines. Headlines like, "Is Micah Parsons' podcast more important to him than football?" Or "Dak Prescott hasn't signed an extension. Trouble brewing in Dallas?" Those of us who follow the Cowboys closely know that 99% of the headlines from the 4-letter media networks are only to get views and clicks, and not actual football analysis. Their latest situation to blow out of proportion has been the contract negotiations of QB Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and why they aren't signed to extensions yet. They even threw edge Micah Parsons in there, who just became eligible for a new contract. The Dallas Cowboys have been known to offer new contracts earlier than expected to players they project are on an upward trajectory, and they try to lock them at a cheaper price before they play themselves into a larger contract. They've done this in the past with players like Jalen Smith and La'el Collins, and they could possibly be looking for a couple of players to accomplish that with before the season starts. Let's look at 2 young players who qualify. The Cowboys have notoriously lacked a true impact player at defensive tackle at the 3 technique position since the days of Jay Ratliff and maybe even as far back as Leroy Glover. Osa Odighizuwa isn't on the same level as those 2 Cowboys legends, but he has shown improvement in each of his first 3 seasons. He is an ascending player in the final year of his rookie deal and is the perfect candidate for an extension. Through his first 3 seasons, Odighizuwa has seen incremental increases in tackles, tackles for loss, assisted tackles, and quarterback hits. For a team that lacks in defending the run, those stats are important. Odighizuwa is at the top of the depth chart with not much experience behind him. Second-year player Motzi Smith will shade more to a 1 technique, leaving Osa as the only true 3 technique defensive tackle on the team. Players like Chauncey Galston and Viliami Jr. Fehoko double as defensive ends and undersized tackles to spell the starters. Still, if Osa Odigizua walks in free agency, the Cowboys have no contingency plan outside of an expensive free agent or a rookie from the 2025 NFL Draft. I wouldn't be surprised to see Osa Odigizua signed to an extension before the season starts. An extension for Wanya Thomas wouldn't be a priority for the Cowboys, but it would be a smart move. Thomas signed a 2-year contract as an undrafted free agent from Georgia Tech University after the 2023 NFL Draft. Then DC Dan Quinn and current defensive backs coach Al Harris saw playmaking ability from Wanya in college. When given the opportunity, Wanya has delivered. He snagged the first interception of the season in 2023 from Jacksonville Jaguars' first-string QB Trevor Lawrence during a preseason game at AT&T Stadium. He played well enough throughout the rest of training camp and the preseason to earn a spot on the 53-man roster, appearing in 16 regular season games. Thomas even started one game in place of an ill Malik Hooker. Wanya Thomas displays versatility that none of the other safeties on the team possess. He can cover deep or defend the run. He can cover tight ends or shadow wide receivers in the slot. Thomas possesses the toughness that has so often been lacking from this team. Malik Hooker, the current starter at free safety, still has 3 years left on his contract, but the Cowboys have an out after this upcoming season. If Wanya ends the season as the more effective safety, Hooker could be released and the Cowboys would save almost $4 million against the 2025 salary cap. Dallas Cowboys favored to sign former All-Pro wide receiver. The Dallas Cowboys wide receiver depth has been a big topic of discussion throughout the offseason, with the WR3 job completely up in the air. Jalen Tolbert is favored to win the Dallas Cowboys WR3 job, which was vacated when the team released veteran Michael Gallup in the offseason. Tolbert will compete with Jalen Brooks, Kavonde Turpin, and 6th-round pick Ryan Flournoy for the job, which will play out during training camp. But could Dallas add a veteran presence to the mix? According to the oddsmakers, the Cowboys are the NFL's most likely team to sign a veteran, former All-Pro pass catcher looking for a job. The player? Former New Orleans Saints star Michael Thomas. BetOnline lists the Cowboys as a 3-1 favorite to land Thomas, followed by the Buffalo Bills, 5-1, Baltimore Ravens, 6-1, Denver Broncos, 8-1, and Kansas City Chiefs, 10-1. Thomas has battled multiple injuries over the past 4 seasons, which has limited him to just 20 games. Still, a 1-year deal would make plenty of sense for the Cowboys and Thomas, who is looking to re-establish himself as a formidable threat on the field. Last season, Thomas hauled in 39 catches for 448 yards and a touchdown in 10 games. Thomas has recorded 565 catches for 6,569 yards and 36 touchdowns throughout his career. This season will mark his 9th year in the NFL. If the Cowboys do choose to go the Thomas route, it is a low-risk, high-reward option in Big D. Of course, if they like what they see from Tolbert, Turner, Turpin, or even Flournoy during the early part of training camp, they could decide to enter the season with their current stable of pass catchers. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Michael Thomas? Leave your opinion in the comments.